All right, No Way Out, 1987. Our guy Raj wrote this.
Knew this was coming early.
Movies such as this are very hard to make. For proof, look at the wreckage of dozens of unsuccessful thrillers every year. No Way Out is a superior example of the genre. No Way Out is what I chase every time I check out the film noir section of Tubi.
Yes.
Or the thriller section on Max. Or when Netflix throws the thrillers at us and you see like No Way Out, it's like, yeah, give me more No Way Outs. And you just go on down the line and they just don't make them. There's just not that many of them, CR.
There's not, and it's like, man, what an all-time twist movie. It's really up there with Primal Fear and Sixth Sense for me in terms of the twist makes the movie more rewatchable.
100%.
I almost did a twist pyramid, but decided against
pyramid?
it. But yeah, it's Sixth Sense, No Way Out, Primal Fear, and Usual Suspects are the four that make you go.
You're stomping all over my hottest take, but yeah.
Well, our friend Rembert just randomly was watching this
Another Tubi
a week and a half
aficionado.
ago. It might have been on Tubi. And was like, hey, I'm watching No Way Out. Text me and Wesley, knowing that we'd be excited about this information, which, by the way, I was. I think it was one of the reasons we're doing Rewatchables. And it's like, whoa, Costner Young. And then later he just texted, Sean Young, ! And then at the end, spoiler alert, he's like, whoa, he was a Russian. That was the last. And I knew it was coming. It was like an hour after the Sean Young text. But yeah, and it's one of those when you rewatch this movie over and over again, it's like, oh, he's ordering the Stoli. Should have caught it.
Yeah.
Should have caught it in 87.
He's getting pretty squirrely when they go to Nina's apartment.
Yeah.
And Scott's getting too handsy, and he's like, I might have to glass this guy with a vase.
Makes the movie so much more fun to watch.
Yeah.
So much more fun to revisit. And also, it's like, it makes Costner seem like a much better actor. Because Costner is not a great movie star, not known for his acting.
Yeah.
But in this movie, he has information that we don't have. And he's performing it. And when you revisit, you're like, oh, he's giving us little signals. He's getting squirmy at the right moment. He's like tilting his body. He's doing stuff that he doesn't usually do as an actor. I love him in this.
Well, because there is, this is just a Hitchcock movie that fucks, right? And there is a basic Hitchcock movie at the center of this. I think you and I were talking about the original version of the movie, the
Big Clock.
And that it's just a guy who's like trying to cover his own bases and cover his own ass.
Is that a Turner Movie Classics?
It is. It's a noir classic from the 40s.
Yeah.
But then you add the extra layer of espionage and a mole inside of the Department of Defense at the Defense Department and this kind of John le Carré spy hunt story. And then you add on top of that like the guy who's falsely accused is actually the guilty one is great. And it works so well in like this 2-hour bucket. I think when you watch something like Presumed Innocent, or you watch like some of the prestige series where they're like, I'm trying to like stretch this twist out over 8 hours.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, this is now like beyond belief. But this, you're like, oh, he is a Russian.
I watched it with my daughter, who granted was probably on Snapchat half the time, but had the twist at the end and it didn't register with her right away. And you could just see, I was kind of looking over at her and I could just see the fucking light bulb go off and like, he's Yuri? Like, it's like one of those, like, yeah, he's Yuri.
The opening interrogation also does such a good job of not giving anything away. So much so that you basically forget that it happened.
Yes.
So when you go back to the end, you're like,
it's true.
Oh, right. This is how, and that's like a
because
convention.
He's got the blood on his shoulder in the beginning, so you should know at the end. But so much has happened, you just forget the beginning.
You can't even imagine what had gone awry at that point, and you've completely forgotten about it. But it's a masterfully done twist. I really believe that.
Also, probably one of my, I'm sure you'll get to this, but one of my favorite DC movies.
I had 5 things I wanted to get to. The first was the last minute twist piece, which I think is the enduring great thing about this movie. Are there twists gone wrong movies for you? That would have been a fun
Oh, gosh.
category.
Like a twist that doesn't work?
Just movies where they tried to...
Well, I'll tell you, we were talking about this the other day, the Apple TV Plus show Sugar.
Which good one.
We won't give the twist away, but the twist on that show is very stupid. And sometimes it's like you think you had a great idea and you could feel like everybody in the room who's working on a movie or a TV show is like, We're going to blow people's minds with this. And then you see it and you're like, what?
That's another example of something that if it came 1 hour and 45 minutes into a movie, your mind would probably be blown. But when it comes 7 hours into a show, you're like, what am I doing with my life?
Yes.
Yeah, because there's been some, like Dress to Kill
Mhm.
has a big twist.
Mhm.
But when you watch it, it's just being telegraphed
I totally
so
agree.
hard. There's a really terrible movie that I saw in the theater with my friend Nick Aida in the mid-90s, Color of Night with Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jane March.
That has a massive, stupid twist in it.
Mm-hmm.
And even as it's happening, you're like, come on, guys. Really?
Yeah.
Really? That's what we're
Yeah.
doing? Basic Instinct was trying to like flash the twist, but then not.
It ducked the punch at the end, though,
Yeah,
because it's like, oh.
they just didn't do it.
Yeah, there were some movies like Identity. Did you guys ever see that? I think that's with
Is that John Cusack?
John Cusack.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has a big twist at the end that like reveals how all these characters are connected to each other that's in the story that like
Oh,
when
Playing by Heart did that too, that early Jolie movie with
Yeah.
the family and it's all these interspersed characters. And then at the end, it's like, oh, they're all related.
yeah. So there's like, I don't know.
Masquerade with Rob Lowe, which I think is a really solid
Never seen it.
discount film noir.
Right.
Get to be outdoors, get to be in the Cape. There's some sex.
Yeah.
Kim Cattrall's in it.
Sure.
She's not afraid to take her clothes off. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Um,
Have you
but
revisited
there's a
those
twist at
scenes?
the
Or,
end.
you know?
No, it's in that film noir stretch. The DC movie thing. This movie starts with a shot of the monument and the White House together and pans back and gives us the whiteout shot of the Capitol with all three of us in with like dun, 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 dun. And you're just like, okay, I'm in. When we were trying to figure out live rewatchables what the DC movie was, and it's weird. There's been both a lot of DC movies, but not a lot of fun movies to do in front of a live crowd. And we talked about No Way Out. And it's like, this movie came out 37 years ago. We can't do this. But this to me is about as DC of a movie as you can get.
Yeah, I mean, I think if this also like takes advantage of like the DMV part of it, where it's like they get to go to Chesapeake,
Right.
You know,
The
and it's got
Mistresses
like
in
all
Virginia.
the Arlington,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, like all the farmhouses, and then just like
Joe House is driving across the border to place illegal bets
That's right.
where gambling's
Yeah.
legal in Virginia.
Joe House is probably like to the table to the left of Hackman
Yeah.
at that breakfast meeting where you
Yeah.
can kind of see all of Washington from
Yeah,
the
he's
balcony.
looking at the lines for that day. It's Hackman's.
He's like, Alex Sarr, 0 for 17. Can only go up from here.
Yeah. The thing is, House's expectations were 0, so he's fine with all the bad stars.
We're testing
box
that.
scores.
Yeah.
We're testing it. But yeah, it's just a lot of like that outdoor brunch wherever the hell he's or breakfast when he sees Joe Don Baker.
Mhm.
Fred
It's
Dalton
just
Thompson.
so DC-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a good chase scene where we get to see some DC. I
Yeah,
think we're going
racing
through
through the mall.
Georgetown at one
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
Yeah, we're
yeah.
in the mall. It's good.
Most DC movies are about the president, right? So you're just like in the White House a lot.
Yeah.
Or it's all the president's men and it's about the president, but it's in a newspaper. Very rarely is it like the suburbs where people live who work in Washington, D.C.
And
which
a
is
few good
often-
men, they ultimately report to the president, you know,
It's true. That's
chain
true.
of command.
Sean, would you go?
Officer on deck.
So the 70s DC thrillers that we all love,
Mhm.
Parallax View, Condor,
Mhm.
All President's Men, go on and on. Is this a half brother? Is this a younger brother? Is it a nephew? What is the relation
guess
of
it
this
is
movie to
related.
those movies?
I heard a quote recently that I really liked, which is that like the difference between drama and melodrama. In drama, characters drive the story. In melodrama, story drives the characters. Those movies are dramas. This movie's a melodrama. You know, this is like a lurid thriller.
Yeah.
It's not really a movie that's like about anything. You know, like when you look at like the themes of the movie, it's just a cool, sexy, fun movie.
It's about something. Gene Hackman likes to get his horns on. That's what it's really about.
Yeah, it's about
She
dudes-
can do things to me that no other woman's ever done.
But you wouldn't know that, would you, Scott?
You don't understand, Scott.
I guess it is about desire in
Yeah.
that way, but
Yeah.
it's not like those movies are about paranoia and what was going on in the country at the time and how power works. And this movie
Well, this-
seems like it's about those
This
things.
movie's in the Cold War zone, though, which makes it very distinctly 80s.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like
We're the Russians we were afraid of from basically till
Yeah,
a
but
year
the
after
funny
this
thing
movie comes
about it,
out.
or the thing that's both very much of its time, but is kind of cool to go back and look at as a little bit of a time capsule, is how even in this movie, there's an awareness that all of these people are just doing it for money and power that has nothing to do with ideology or like defeating communism. It's just like, this company that's making a giant sub wants to just take as much taxpayer money as possible. And then there's like forces moving against the Secretary of Defense or whatever. Yeah.
I mean,
is that what was happening in the plot? Because I've never
I did
totally
actually
figured it out.
Yeah. I think it's actually crucial
Like
to the end of the
70% know
very
it.
end of the movie is the submarine stuff.
I do think it's an accurate representation, though, of how the swinging dicks in DC make decisions, where they're like, this guy wants one thing, so I want the opposite.
Yeah, on the inauguration day where they're like, K Street, M Street, good times are going to keep going. It's like, oh, God, it's fucking gross.
There's a deleted scene where Fred Thompson is a huge Bullets fan and feels like there's a chance to get Arvydas Sabonis from the Blazers, but it didn't really fit in with the plot. Tying into the Cold War.
Release the House cut.
It was like for the 88 Olympics, this guy's stock is only going to
Do you know if House likes this movie?
Yeah, everyone in DC likes this movie. I think this is a liked DC.
Hometown classic. Yeah.
Also, there really weren't a lot of political movies from this stretch from like late 80s through mid 90s. We kind of stopped making these. When they made the political stuff, it was more like the Dave type of movie.
Yeah.
Right?
I think In the Line of Fire and Pelican Brief is when it comes back.
Right.
Yeah.
And Pelican In the Line of Fire, and then we had the resurgence, and then we end up in like the 2000s with The Contender and movies like that, where like the West Wing has now informed this whole new view of what DC is.
Totally. Yeah. That's a great call.
It shifts to there.
To go back to your question though, and Sean's point about, the melodrama versus drama part, I do think that there is like a quintessentially 80s eroticism to this movie that like the 70s movies kind of lacked. And
is that what we're calling it?
These guys being
these people are fucking. That's what this movie is.
Drunk on Strange, basically, as much as they are power and money. And it's kind of amazing to watch. Like Costner spends most of this movie wearing his navy whites and sullying that uniform. Like there's like there's some good imagery in that regard.
It was also when you could be horny in Washington without it really getting out and becoming a national scandal yet. Because Gary Hart happens in 87, and then the shift happens, right?
I mean, what month was that when that story broke?
It was the
right
same year,
the same time, right?
Same year. And all of a sudden, this kind of underground DC horniness, like him just setting up his mistress across state lines in Virginia.
I was
it's just
thinking
like
about
so
this
80s.
the other day. I was going to save this for later, but like, you don't hear a lot about mistresses anymore. Like mistresses. Like this guy's got a
Gumars?
Second,
Yeah.
What's up with that? Because I feel like everybody's like, I'm poly. Like I'm just in like an open relationship or something, or we're seeing other people. But back in the day, Bryce had his wife with him at the party and Susan in the other part of the room.
It was a great time. It was a great time for Hollywood. Because you could just have these scenes where it's like, oh yeah, of course he has a mistress, and there's his dutiful wife. You can never do that anymore.
Is the take that we need to bring back mistresses in civilized society?
I think at least for storytelling,
Okay.
I think that like the pressure and the like, you only come to me on Saturday night. When are you going to stay for Sunday morning? Like that kind of, I immediately go into Goodfellas voice.
Yeah.
My number 4 thing on What's Aged the Best, setting up a mistress in her own Virginia townhouse. So Ciara and I are aligned.
That's aged the best?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
That's a good movie premise.
Yeah, it is. But it's not something that would happen now.
No,
I mean,
don't
maybe
think
it would.
So.
Yeah.
Maybe it would. Maybe they're just better at...
I might have a Gumar over at LA Live in a condo.
What?
I mean, look, you guys don't know. You guys don't know what I'm up to.
At LA Live?
Yeah,
Is that where you power walk
cheaper?
to?
Yeah. JW Marriott's giving out deals. We set you up there for a year,
you have the
honey.
tunnel to Staples so you can go watch Bronny?
Yeah. I use the tunnel.
Yeah. Stop by for a quickie and then go watch Bronny go 0 for 4.
I have a place in the giant building with all the graffiti on it. I got a little townhouse in there. That's
great.
where I put my Gumars.
The revival of the Gumar is incredible. I can't believe this happened here. You guys saved America.
The Gumars are back. Young Costner rips off Untouchables, No Way Out, and Bull Durham in 10 months. And this comes out right after Untouchables. And I went through, you knew I was going to go through the Premiere magazines because Premiere Magazine launches August 1987 with Untouchables. and there's a piece about Costner, and it's like, yeah, I've also got this movie coming up, No Way Out. It's really good. And Bull Durham's out spring the next
Yeah.
year.
This is
And-
kind of like sandwiched in between and forgotten about.
A+ lister. But when Untouchables comes out, it's like, who's that guy? Who's the lead?
Mhm.
Oh, he was in Fandango and he was in American Flyers. Like, he wasn't really anybody.
Yep.
Really unusual. I don't even know if this could happen anymore, where somebody could go from nobody to headlining 3 movies in a row in 10 months and then just becoming one of the 8 biggest stars we had.
It's kind of happening to Austin Butler. It's kind of happening to him. He was Elvis. He was nothing.
He was
Right.
in
And
Once
then he
Upon a
was
Time in
Elvis.
Hollywood.
But
He was in
Elvis
Once Upon
came
a Time in
out.
Hollywood for
Elvis came out
10
2.5
minutes.
years ago.
Yeah. But that led directly to Bike Riders, Dune 2, and
Masters of the
and-
Air.
and Masters of the Air.
Hmm.
And in a very short period of time, he was in like a Spielberg TV show, the biggest sci-fi franchise, and a cool motorcycle movie.
Yeah.
So it kind of happens.
And
but
now is probably going to be in Heat too.
he might be. I mean, I've talked
We
about this a lot.
talked a lot of Costner
Yeah,
too.
yeah, and obviously he's had the Horizon, so he's been on the trail and everything. But his 86 through 93 is insane. It's insane. There's no. I don't know if you can make a comparison to anybody in movie history.
He also, the only person I would put with him is Russell Crowe, where you can, somebody who could be the lead in an action movie, be the lead in a sports movie, but also be in a movie like Proof of Life or this movie,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh yeah, this girl's
Anti-hero.
going to risk everything to be with this dude.
But I think Costner wins in terms of romance and female audience, like
No
10
question.
out of 10 times.
All women that I know love Kevin Costner.
Do you
Like,
think
when he
that they
came to the
love him-
Grantland party, we've talked about it before. It stopped the party.
Yeah.
Everybody was,
was a
ready to
tractor
go
beam.
home with him that day.
Yeah, you too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He looked good. He's still a handsome guy.
Great guy. He just figured out some sort of. He's not really he wasn't ever really in the Hanks corner. Cruise was over here. Like, you go through all the guys from that era, and he just kind of had his own lane. Like, I don't know who else could have been in Bull Durham in this movie.
Yeah, we did a Hall of Fame about him on Big Picture, and I was trying to figure out like who are the historical comps. It's like hard to land on somebody. It's
You
like
can't.
a little bit of Henry Fonda, a little bit of Burt Lancaster, a little bit of
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart or Spencer Tracy. Like, he's
Redford.
kind of all
Yeah.
of these different. Yeah, Robert Redford. Like, he's kind of takes pieces from all those people.
I wish he had made more of these. I think he made
Yeah, I agree.
complicated films later, but this and A Perfect World are two of the most interesting things he's done because he's fucking with a nascent and then really established identity as this all-American hero guy.
Well, but he has this, like, this was his fatal flaw. This fucking outdoors, putting on a cowboy hat thing.
I mean,
He
it's not
just
fatal
wanted
flaw.
to
He
do
was
that
in
over.
Yellowstone for
Well,
6
it's
years.
his fatal
Yeah.
flaw this year with Horizon.
If Horizon Part 3
How many
was in
times can you
fact
put a
No
cowboy
Way
hat
Out
on?
Part 2, would you crowdfund it?
I just that would be great. I just think he maybe do 2 less of those giant sprawling movies and like 3 more of the Cruise playbook of like now. Maybe back then though there wasn't like the Jason Bourne type part that probably he would have done if it was 10 years later, right?
I think that you have to look at him through the prism of how directors see him versus how he sees himself. When he's directing a movie or when one of like his guys, like Kevin Reynolds, is directing the movie,
Yeah.
he's like very stoic and like an American hero. But if Oliver Stone or Tony Scott or Roger Donaldson on this movie or
Palma.
Brian De Palma, they all see him
Eastwood.
as like more wily, funnier. Ron Shelton more than anybody.
Yeah.
Like, he's always sexier. He's always funnier. He's always a little weirder in those movies because he has a very odd charm. But when he's directing the movie, he's like, I am the American statue. Like, I represent.
Who is also Jesus.
Yeah.
I gotta say I don't like American statue Kevin Costner.
It's not as fun.
I think he has a really, really special and unique ability to click with actresses.
Totally.
And God only knows like what goes into the clicking. But he's one of those actors that you always feel like, oh, they started fucking in day 4 of the filming. Even though you have no idea. You're just like, wow. And if you think about the actors that he's done movies with and all the other stuff they've done, they're always at their best with him. So
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about him.
I will say that the relationship he has with Sean Young in this movie, it feels like you're watching a real couple.
Totally. When she sits next to him and just starts mimicking him, I'm like, this is fucking, she probably improvised that on the spot. Is it time to talk about Sean Young?
Sure.
We've talked a lot about Costner on the pod. Costner's probably moving up the rankings for
I was just
most
going to say, I think
rewatchables.
he's gotten 4 this year.
If you
Robin Hood
If you include Big Chill.
and For the Love of the
Do we
Game.
include Big Chill?
Well, I mean, he did come up in that discussion.
But we haven't even done Bull Durham or Tin Cup yet.
Right.
So we got
but you did Untouchables.
couple left.
We're doing No Way Out. Did Field of Dreams, right? Did Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves? Did JFK?
Untouchables, yeah. Did you say that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Chris
You know what we haven't
Chris
done
did a
yet?
solo Wyatt Earp pod.
Let's go, American Flyers.
I could see us doing. I could see you doing 13 Days.
Same director.
Donaldson.
Same director.
13 Days is good.
I like it.
Yeah, I like that movie. I have some thoughts on Costner's accent, and if there was another flaw with Costner, it was
In 13
accents
Days
were,
or in this?
in 13
Okay.
Days.
Yeah.
Accents were not his friend, as we talked about on the Robin
His
Hood pod.
American accent as a Russian agent is excellent in No Way Out.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sean,
Perfect World and Tin Cup are definitely rewatchables. Definitely.
Tin Cups, I mean, that's been on the list. Field of Dreams was one of the ones we're saving. Although maybe we're just going to burn
mean
through
Bull
all
Durham?
these now.
Bull Durham.
Bull Durham. I
Yeah.
mean. Sean Young. I have a hottest take that I'll save for her for later. Her 80s look like this. She's in stripes. Her and PJ Souls with Bill Murray and Harold Ramis. Just love those two together. It's like, do these people, I'm like 11. I'm like, do these people exist in real life?
When do I get to meet them? Yeah.
She was 21 in Stripes.
Blade Runner. Young Doctors in Love, only available on YouTube. I watched 20 minutes and it was as bad as I remembered. Her and Michael McKean. Dune. Wall Street.
She plays the Zendaya role in Dune.
Yeah.
Wall Street. We
She's
talked about that in the
Gecko's
Wall
sister?
Street pod.
Daughter?
No, Michael Douglas's wife and
Wife.
chopped out of a lot of that movie.
Right.
A problem on the set, as the kids say. No Way Out. The wheels kind of come off after that. Kiss Before Dying. She gets fired from Dick Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
Has a Warren Beatty thing that, let's say there's two sides.
A little dicey.
She got bounced from Batman in '89, which we talked about on the Batman rewatchables, because she got hurt falling off a horse, and that really started the tough stretch. She feuded with Harvey Weinstein, which, in retrospect, history on her side. Back in the time, not a guy to feud with, and he was a fucking asshole to her, which add her to that list. And then really wanted to get Catwoman when they were talking about it ended
Batman
up being
Returns.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
Lobbied for it, wore a homemade suit for Tim Burton, legendary Hollywood story. He was like, that's weird. Didn't get the part. Then wore that suit on Joan Rivers. Everyone's like, this woman's batshit crazy, because at the same time, James Woods, I wouldn't say a stable presence in Hollywood the last 40 years. He's suing her for harassment for some sort of something they have on a movie set.
Yeah.
And then that's it. And she ends up in Ace Ventura like 2 years later, but for the most part, kind of missed the window.
It's kind of made like 3 or 4 B movies or red box movies a year ever since. Pretty much.
I'll do the hot take now. I feel like she was a 101. I don't know who she reminds me of. There's nobody like her in a movie.
She's an amazing screen presence. She's like a
a force of nature.
She's like doing Barbara Stanwyck. You know, she's like, I'm really sexy and I'm the smartest person in the room and I'm in control.
But in
and
this,
a little like daffy, you know?
That's what I was going to say, is in this, she has like a tractor beam where you're like, whoa, like this is real Throw Your Life Away Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And this character is just like the kind of person
We talked
like,
about the Throw Your Life Away Hall of Fame. It's a good one.
It starts with Edie Falco and Copland.
Yep. That's been number 1 with a bullet for you since 1997. Dana Wheeler Nicholson, number 2.
Wheeler Nicholson
In Fletch.
Oh my God. That's so good.
But
Yeah, she locks eyes on you, and then it's like, that's it. Here's my ATM
it's
card.
a lot of like, what morning after what happened last night, Sean Young said something to a biker at the bar, and
Right.
you wound up having to fight him.
Right, and you got knocked out?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She's a great actor. She seems a
I'm
little
trying-
loopy, but she also got sucked into the machine of like, she got into a fight with Harvey Weinstein. What do you think that was over?
Yeah.
right.
She had
There's some bad luck stuff in there.
Yeah. She got treated the way a lot
She
of
ended up
actresses
on
get
Celebrity
treated.
Rehab in the 2000s, and it got pretty dark.
Yeah.
But there's a moment there where, Sharon Stone had a lot of the same stuff, but was able to harness it of just the tractor beam where you just like, they come into a movie and you're just like, what's going on? Who's that? What's going on with her? And you feel like with somebody like that, the character in the movie or TV show is going to throw their lives away within 5 seconds, which is what happens.
Yeah. She's outstanding in this movie. You get why these two guys are going nuts over her.
I don't know how many other people could have played the part.
Well, that's the thing. Is it's like you don't know until it's.
I do think Sharon Stone could have done it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you don't know until you're doing it. Where it's like, oh, I could see Hackman and Costner just losing their minds over this person.
Yeah,
she has that thing where there's a certain type of woman who's like constantly giving her man shit, but they like it. And that's what the character is. So it's a little hard to look at. Like there's a famous casting what if for that part that, I won't step on. But that I can't totally see that actress doing the thing that she's doing in this, where she's really kind of giving everybody the business all the time.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, maybe we see this sometimes when we do these movie stretches, where sometimes it's just a 5 to 7 year run and then you get replaced by somebody else. But I felt like there was more there. I was always, even when she was making bad movies in like the early 90s, I always watched the movie. Like I saw A Kiss Before Dying whenever it showed up on cable. I was like, oh, maybe this is the one. It just never happened.
She's great in Ace Ventura. Like it's a ridiculous character and it hasn't aged well or whatever, but like it's incredibly memorable.
Well, somebody else who's memorable. Horny Hackman.
Horny Hacks. Yeah.
Yeah. Unforgettable.
94 years young.
Yeah. Still going.
This one can do things for me like no one else I've ever met. It's the only thing worth living for. Get your horns on, Gene. The Firm, No Way Out, Night Moves, Absolute Power, and Heartbreakers. We get Horny Hackman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you see him in movies like Hoosiers, and he's like the least sexual person alive. So the question is...
But because you've introduced the paradigm of Horny Hackman, now I have to go back and watch like Hoosiers and be like, is there a horn in this Hackman?
You can see it a little bit when Barbara Hershey kind of makes a move on him in the cornfield and then just stops being a bitch from that point on in the movie. It's like, oh, she got a little taste of Horny Hackman. She's back. Was he Horny Hackman underneath all along or just a really good actor?
Even in like Superman, you're like, this Lex Luthor nailed down Valerie Perrine. You know what I mean? Like he's got the juice. Like this weird, balding, average looking guy.
Who just happens to be like the second or third best actor ever.
Well, it's like he looks like a security guard in like Long Island.
Yeah, and he's like basically a sourpuss in every movie he's ever made. And yet all men are like, you know what actor I love is Gene Hackman. Yeah. And in many movies, he's like, I fucked the hottest woman in this movie.
And all the other actors in the world are just like, I just want to be Gene Hackman.
Pretty crazy.
I was researching Horny Hackman and there was a Cloris Leachman story.
Really?
That
co-stars in Young Frankenstein.
It was about hold on, I gotta find this now. I'm breaking Rewatchables protocol and Googling something during
Huge fan of Leachman in Last Picture Show.
She's in your Throw Your Life Away Hall of Fame, right?
It's true.
The headline is Cloris Leachman's new book details one night stand with Gene Hackman.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Good for you guys.
It's
Hope they had fun.
Cloris, my autobiography. She recalls bumping into Gene Hackman when both were shooting movies in San Francisco in the 1970s and dining with him at their hotel.
Oh, how nice.
Hold your horses. As we moved into the main course, it was as if a cosmic wind enveloped us. Some giant space magnet was pulling us together. We didn't finish the meal. We went upstairs, flew into bed, and made love. It was epic. And the next morning, Gene went back to his film, and I went back to mine. I haven't seen Gene since that night, but I remember well the feisty lad he was.
Is it now the time to announce that the reason why you're not doing the Bill Simmons podcast is because you're doing the audiobook for Cloris?
I'm doing the audiobook for Feisty Lad, the horny Gene Hackman story. Sean doesn't know what to do.
The cosmic wind.
Did you say a cosmic wind? That's what she wrote?
You think Bill did not make that up?
Yeah. A cosmic wind.
As we moved into the main course, It was as if a cosmic wind enveloped
And you know
us.
it was like lobster thrown over. Or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
They
Yeah.
didn't finish the meal. It's just like
How
Gene had
could
a
you?
Cornish game hen. Just
Yeah, beef medallions everywhere, strewn across the table.
Leachman's prime rib, untouched.
Jesus. A one-nighter. Anyway, so I think the answer is maybe underneath the horns where it was there.
I mean, God bless him. Shout out
Still
to him.
alive, by the way.
Yeah.
Probably still banging
Yeah.
it out. He's
He's
like
a
in his
man.
mid-90s.
Just watching
Yeah.
Jags games, right?
Well, he also,
He's probably on like Raya.
I texted you guys this, but like,
Did you say he's probably on Riot?
I think he's married. He's been captured by the
citizen
paparazzi.
Raya.
Every time there's an image of him, like going to the gas station or whatever in New Mexico, people are like, leave him alone. Let him live
Let
out
Gene
his
Hackman
90s in
cook.
peace. But he's got a lady with him at all times. But
Love that guy.
His career is amazing.
Amazing just stopped working. He's
Yes,
like
that's what I was gonna say.
out.
20 movies in the 70s, 20 movies in the 80s, 20 movies in the 90s, made like 5 movies in the 2000s, and he was like, you know what, fuck this. And he just bailed.
I was looking at his IMDb, and I don't think anyone has a wider range of, wow, that movie was amazing. Oh, I like that movie. What the fuck was that movie? I don't even know what title. What is that title?
He's a Tubi all-star as well. He's
Yeah,
got a ton of movies on Tubi.
He, in this year, 1987, I think he made 5 movies, and he cranked out, you said it was 20 a year or 20 a decade. I think in the 80s, he might have made more than that. Just in 80, he does Hoosiers and Power in 86. I know you're a big Power guy, Sean.
Lumet.
Superman 4, No Way Out in 87. And then he's in Split Decisions, Bat 21, Full Moon in a Blue Water, and Another Woman, and Mississippi Burning in 1988. He makes 5 movies. I don't know what 4 of those movies are.
Another Woman's a Woody Allen movie, but also the Bat 21. I mean, he played like a colonel or a sergeant or the Secretary of Defense, or I mean, he played a military guy in like 35 movies.
I'm ashamed to admit I zoomed through Split Decisions. It's a boxing movie. Craig Sheffer.
Haven't seen this.
Craig Sheffer's in Split Decisions?
And
Craig
Jeff
Sheffer.
Fahey. And Jennifer
And-
Beals.
Jeff Fahey gets involved with the mob. He's a boxer.
He still has a couple of later period ones that we haven't done that I'm scouting. Like, I mean, I think Behind Enemy Lines and Heist are the 2 that I like.
Well, what about the Andrew Davis one? The Package. That one's good.
Oh, yeah,
movie.
The Package
I
is
like The
great.
Package.
Yeah, that's a really good movie.
80s, right?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
we did the Hoosiers Rewatchables, which is now up on YouTube 3 years late, because we found the video. Part of the research was about how he just like showed up on the set on Hoosiers and like, all right, let's bang this out. Like, didn't think it was going to be a good movie. He's just like, put the cue cards over there. The Replacements is like the best version of that, where Gene's just clearly like,
He's mailing
yeah,
them.
I'm not doing that. And they're like, how about $450,000?
Right.
Like, fine. But I remember when I wrote it, I want to do that movie in the Rewatchables at some point. When I wrote about that, one of the jokes I had for page 2 was about how he was yelling at the cue card guy. You got to write that bigger. I can't see it from where I am. Because he's just like one scene and out. You could just see it. He's
Yeah.
like, what the fuck is this movie?
I mean, you and Andy did Royal Tenenbaums, and the story is kind of legion at this point that I was right at the end of his career, and Wes Anderson really wanted him, but that they did not get along.
Yeah.
You know, and that he was really ornery.
You know who he loved? Eastwood.
Yeah, one taken
Eastwood's
out.
like, we'll be out by 4:30. We might be able to play 9.
Yeah.
Gene's like, that's fine. I got a Gumar over at the Intercontinental.
I'll get you
I'll
home in
see you
time for
there.
Jag Saints.
Uh,
You can watch Breeze and Burnell duel.
You know what he's really funny in is Get Shorty. He's really, really good in Get Shorty.
he's just an amazing actor that I don't know. He's another like 101. I don't know who Hackman is now in 2024. I just don't feel like the person exists.
They don't
Yeah.
make him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not.
We have
There's
to
no
wait for a
comp.
bunch of younger guys to get older or something.
He was also the same age for 22 years.
Yeah.
So you watch him in French Connection. He seems a tiny bit younger, but by the time we get to the late 70s, he's just the same age all the way through to The Replacements.
It's just, does he have a mustache or not?
Yeah.
I watched Class Action recently.
Mm.
I'd never seen that before. It's him and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, and they're both lawyers. He's her father.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this is a 2.5-star movie, but you know what? A 2.5-star movie is like the best movie of all time. You know, I was just like, I'm just locked in for an hour and 43 minutes.
That's how I
of
feel
this.
about Behind Enemy Lines. It's like
Mm.
the dumbest movie I've ever seen, and it rules.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, then we'll finish the rest. Oh, do we have the most rewatchable? All right, so I'll keep going. Or you want to put a break there?
No, we got to do Paramount first.
All right, so I'll just keep going. Forget the break. All right, so this movie was based on the 1946 novel The Big Clock by Kenneth Fearing. It was filmed as The Big Clock, 1948. Police Python 357 in 1976. Not aware of what that was. That was the other remake.
Police Python, eh?
Yeah. Written by Robert Garland, directed by Roger Donaldson. New Zealand guy or Australian guy? One of those two.
Born in Australia, moved to New Zealand. You know what he directed.
Well, it's a pretty interesting IMDb. I'll tell you this much. No Way Out, Cocktail the next year, The Getaway, Species, a movie that I would do on the Rewatchables tomorrow, but I don't think anyone else likes it.
I like Species.
Four,
What are you
like-
talking about? You don't like Species?
Four
I do.
Yeah.
fun kind of horny movies.
He was the master of the lurid thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then ends up doing 13 Days Later. But maybe he found a soulmate with Horny Hackman.
Yeah, he was like sub Adrian Lyne. He was
Yeah.
more interested in like the story than he was the sex, but he always had sex in his movies. And Dante's Peak he did too, which was a big movie, the volcano movie.
It's funny to go from No Way Out to Cocktail. It's like, Roger, what's next? Got this thing with Cruise set in
It would have
Jamaica.
been great, though, to know you in 87 and No Way Out and Cocktails directed by the same guy, and you're like treating him like Kubrick. You're like, what could Donaldson do next?
Treating him. Was I wrong?
But that's
It's like these Full Metal Jacket guys can get out of here.
But that's what's so crazy about this movie and all movies like this when we talk about these 80s movies. Is like this movie was shot by John Alcott, who was Stanley Kubrick's cinematographer, who shot all of the Kubrick classics in the 60s and 70s. He won
There
an
were just
Oscar.
less movies back then. I feel like there were less jobs, less movies, and you're more likely to get some
These guys
awesome
were workers.
cinematographer.
They like to work.
They're just like banging them out.
But this movie looks good. You know, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like it looks great. That opening credit sequence you just described, where it's like a helicopter shot all across DC. That's beautiful shit, man.
Yeah.
That makes you excited about the movie.
$15 million budget, made $35.5 million, and then became just a fucking staple.
Constant HBO show.
A
that movie.
staple on cable.
Yeah.
Roger Ebert, 4 stars.
We've done
4. He
However,
was like,
this must
1,
be
2, 3, 4 stars.
the 25th or 30th movie we've done this year, and Raj has been in real 2.5.
Yeah.
We've been
I feel like he's
speculating
been-
how much did Raj like
Spent a
have
half
to
star
see this
short a
week?
couple times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like second guessing Raj, and then here he's like, "This is as good as it gets."
I watched the Siskel and Ebert episode where this movie was
what did
featured.
Siskel think?
So Raj, it's 4 movies in a row that he liked. And he,
By the way, I like that. I was like, let's do an easy one this week. I don't want to overload Sean because we decided 2 days ago. It's
No,
like something he doesn't
listen
do a lot
to
of
the fucking
research on.
director's
He's like,
commentary.
I watched Siskel and Ebert. I listened to the director's commentary.
I did. Well, I really like this movie. So,
Yeah.
But so Ebert is like, we haven't had an episode like this in months where we've just got 4 great movies, Gene. Let me tell you about No Way Out. And he starts describing it. Then they cut to Gene, and Gene's like, well, Roger, this movie stinks. And he like,
No!
totally trashes
Oh
it.
my God.
He's like, didn't buy the characters, performances are bad. Like, he's just super down on it.
Jesus.
It's tough.
Fucking Siskel. Raj says it's a terrifying jigsaw puzzle. He found himself really caring about the characters.
Yeah.
He said, the plot gives us a great deal of info. The more we know, the less we understand.
Horny Raj.
Then he said, that's the test of a good thriller. When you stop thinking about the mechanics of the plot and start caring about the people.
That's your point.
Siskel's like, fuck that. I'm when the Ebert and Siskel, when they battled,
You're Ebert.
I feel like probably more, I saw the Siskel side on stuff sometimes though. I would say that the seesaw was probably tilted a little toward Raj.
Siskel was unafraid to go against the grain. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't mind being quote unquote wrong, but Ebert was right more than Siskel was, in my opinion.
I love that Siskel bought the Saturday Night Fever suit because he liked the movie so much. And he was like, I'm getting this thing. It was like $800. Now
Yeah.
it's probably like $100,000.
That's like CR with all of Edie Falco's cigarette butts from Copland. He's just got a whole drawer full of
I'm
them.
just building an Edie Falco doll out of Newports.
Today's The Most Rewatchable Scene is brought to you by Paramount Plus. A mountain of movies awaits on Paramount Plus. That means a mountain of heart-pounding action. Blockbusters. Top Gun Maverick. Might have seen it. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Transformers Rise of the Beasts. A mountain of jump scares with thrillers like Scream 6, Smile, A Quiet Place Part 2, and A Mountain of Fun for the Kiddos, family favorites like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Paw Patrol the movie, and much more. Not to mention 90210 in Melrose Place. Complete. Although there's a lot of 90210 episodes missing because of the music.
Oh, yeah.
Which is really upsetting. The 80s, 90s,
They're just
early
bringing
2000s
Homicide's
shows
going to be on streaming now.
took like forever.
Yeah.
Homicide should have been on 10 years ago. They got to figure, they should have grandfathered in some rule that the music, whatever. Anyway,
R.I.P. Shannon
discover new movies every week on Paramount Plus. Okay, rewatchable scenes. I love the big opening DC presidential party scene. I love party scenes in general, as you guys know.
It's a great way to introduce us to all the characters in a natural way.
Tom and Susan's flirting. Will Patton, who we haven't mentioned yet as Scott, is just dialing. He's like, guys, buckle the fuck up. I'm going to be dialing it up. Put your seatbelts on, everybody.
It's honestly electrifying when someone who is not famous at all is in a movie with two hugely famous stars and is like, everybody move over.
Yeah.
Like, this is my time.
I'm going to stand so close to you and yell in your face about power.
Yeah, we could do this now. It's the Tom Sizemore, for me, the action is the juice award.
The
Best
Bryce
toe-to-toe,
is the juice for Scott. Yeah.
Best toe-to-toe, non-star with the stars. He's just
Unbelievable.
like, I'm going to chew up all the scenery, guys. I know you guys are
I
famous.
kind of wonder how they decided, how much of it was Will Patton, how much of it was in the script and Donaldson or whatever. He's always walking so close to Tom.
Oh, he's
Like
such a
every
personal
time
space
Tom tries
invader.
to leave the
Yeah.
room, he's like, I'm coming with you. Every time he's trying to make any headway in the investigation, he's like, don't worry about that. You go over here. It's like the cumulative experience of watching that performance. By the end, you're just like, oh my God, this guy is spinning me out. It really helps mount the tension.
It's
of the
like
movie,
Josh
though.
McDaniels next to Belichick for years and years, just in his
Absolutely.
personal space.
Exact same
Calling
thing.
plays.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We have Tom ordering the Stoli straight up. Little
Yeah.
tip.
Yeah.
Little tiny tip. We have Sean Young smoking a 10-inch cigarette.
Yeah.
What brand was that, CR?
Virginia Slim or something?
God damn,
Benson
that was
and
a long
Hedges?
cigarette.
What do you think the filmmakers were trying to tell us with that sequence?
I think they were.
Yeah,
I don't think they were trying anything.
yeah.
It was an allusion to the ancient mariner coming home.
He's like, can you light the cigarette?
don't
for me?"
do that.
We get them going to the limo, and she just says to the driver, "Show us the monument." Costner's in the back seat going, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be a great ride." And
He
then
showed her the monument for sure.
Hey,
Yeah.
Bill, shut the divider window. I have some thoughts on the sex scene that we'll get to in a later category. Next one, it's short, but I love dropping by Amon's house. I love that Amon's in this movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just the heat check of showing up at your friend's house and being like, I've got a limit outside.
Take this fur coat
Here are
and
the
the limo
keys.
outside.
And now I'm naked in your hallway. Take my fur coat.
Yeah, if there was any ambiguity, we're definitely fucking in your bed.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'll change the sheets later.
She doesn't even say that.
What a great friend. Next one I have is the flirting while getting ready for the second party. Right into the second party.
Oh, so you're skipping Manila.
Which one?
Manila Costner.
When he does this, he saves the.
You want to leave
the
Manila
guy on the ship
Costner?
and they
I
go to
had some
Manila.
thoughts on it in a different
When
category.
they're listening to Wild Thing and he tears the phone off the wall.
Yeah, what's going on in that scene?
That's fucking awesome.
You like that one?
Yeah.
That's just for CR. We're just in a different movie for 10 minutes.
And it's 1 month later, Full Metal Jacket comes out, and there's like the same sequence where it's like army guys go overseas and they go to a strip club in Asia, and I don't know. I guess that's something that America wanted to see at that time.
It must
at the
have come
movies.
up at like a WGA meeting.
Yeah.
Like, we know what we need.
Can we get more Filipino strip clubs in this movie?
The funniest thing is it's exactly the same movie if you just take that 10 minutes out. Literally nothing changes. It doesn't advance the story in
First
any
of all,
way.
the
We learn
Manila
nothing.
stuff does have later on pays off with the like, why did he get the bag stolen seemingly on purpose thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you think that's why?
No, because they said to him, he was like, when you tried to do the pass off and there was nothing in the bag, like we were disappointed in you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man. I don't know how this
Maybe
stupid
you were a
one.
little distracted by some of the other sights of Manila, but
Maybe.
I was watching the Spycraft.
That's why this is a fun rewatch. Like,
Yeah.
after you've seen
Oh,
the movie
so
once, you got to rewatch
I'm so
it.
stupid. The murder.
That's why that scene is in the movie. Yeah.
That makes sense now.
Because he's like, yeah, no, let the kid take the
I
bag.
felt like they were trying to tell us that, but yeah, I should have put that together. The murder I have for the next one. You've been out of town. pay the rent.
Is he sufficiently horny in this movie?
No, it's a shame because
Well, we have one where they're lying in bed and he's kind of sizing her up like a porterhouse. You get it. You get the feeling.
Yeah.
like an untouched porterhouse on Cloris Leachman's plate.
Like Joe House at Luger's.
A cosmic wind.
The cosmic
enveloped
wind,
them.
the cosmic wind start blowing in
Yeah.
that scene with Sean Young in the bed. It's a great 80s murder scene. It's a what stage the best and what stage the worst, where it's like the obviously
strikes
not
are
great hit,
slow
but
motion.
slow mo, and then the special effects of going backwards,
Yeah.
like she's falling 40 feet, but it's really 8, and then somehow breaks her neck going through the coffee table and immediately dies. It's the most 80s part of the movie, but I'm kind of here
It's
for
very
it.
De Palma. Like,
And his reaction's really funny. He's like, that was not ideal. You know, like he's not like he's upset, but not really.
but his first
He
impulse
shows
is to
up at
be,
Scott's house. Hey, I think I killed Susan.
yeah.
but he's like, I just wanted to talk it out before I call the cops.
Yeah. I think I killed her.
Scott, man, immediately has the game plan.
Let's say you accidentally kill your Gumar.
We've talked about this. About
who's your
whether,
first call?
CR is at my safe house at the JW
Is
Marriott
it
in LA
Bill?
Live.
Is it Bill?
CR, but I'm absolutely happy to be your first call. It's probably Andy though.
I think actually
Andy would be like,
you could
Chris,
get me.
go to a payphone.
No, I think you could get me out of the country. You know what I mean?
I
Oh.
could. Yeah, I feel like I could too.
Because
Yeah.
Bill can pull some strings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, what do
okay.
you think your reaction would be?
Right to prison. It's to call the police.
Yeah, Sean would be like, I'm reporting you now.
You should turn yourself in.
Do the right thing and also give me the watch.
I don't know what's gonna happen to the watch, but you got to turn yourself in. You know.
Next scene, Tom finds out Susan is dead, which is just
Awesome
a
scene.
great Costner performance. I
Yeah.
gotta say, like he's reading the thing and he does kind of and then all of a
Great
sudden, he's
rewatch
like, can I go to
too,
the bathroom?
because in the first time around, you're like, oh, he's just really upset because he loved Susan. But the second time around, you're like, Yuri, the walls are closing in on Yuri. So the
Yes.
reason he's having the panic attack is
Yeah.
because now all of a sudden he's implicated.
Can I ask you one quick question? It's like I don't know. It's not quite an unanswerable question, but when Bryce goes in to see her after Farrell leaves, and then Farrell stands in the shadows outside the apartment, is there any chance Bryce gets what's happening there? Like, is there any chance?
Oh,
that
definitely, because he says later, like, I was angry.
But he doesn't. He never thinks it's Farrell. Like,
No, he
never
says to
recognizes
Scott,
him at
he's
all.
like, I couldn't see, it was dark. And he's like, did he see you? And he's like, I don't know, basically.
Okay.
It's actually Costner's, it's a nitpick, but it's a mistake by Tom to just kind of stare him down.
I
Like,
think
what's the
I think
upside
it's just
of that?
like, that's the
It's
shit
the
you learn on
big
the
stuff.
streets of Manila, man.
Yeah.
It's just Wolfpack stuff.
Fucking Wolfpack / Gumar stuff. Anyway, that's finding out that scene's good. I like when they go to tell Aman that Susan's dead,
That scene's incredible.
and he's just
Yeah.
like locking in with that face, like, please don't fucking say anything to this guy. Like,
Costner's so good.
you
in
and I
this
are
movie.
homies.
Yeah.
But then they have that part near the end where
he's grabbing his
he's got the vase and he's just kind of like ready to hit the guy over the head and
Yeah.
just, I guess, kill him in Aman's apartment. I don't know
if
what
he has to
his-
kill him and then boogie out. Yeah.
We get the Washington, D.C. car chase, the running chase. Costner doing basically all of his own stunts.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. Much later, we get Costner running from the two henchmen and into Bryce's office at the end. We get a stairwell fight off a showdown. We get Scott going, you have no idea what man with power can do.
Just them truly amazing. This scene is amazing.
No, Scott, don't do it.
Yeah.
Crossed with a Neil, my son. Yeah, that whole scene's awesome. And then we get the twist ending. What do you got for most rewatchable?
I love You Have No Idea What Men of Power Can Do. I
That
think
scene's awesome. That
that's-
scene should be bad, and it's the opposite.
And Hackman is so good in it, where he's like, Scott, you've been a great friend.
Yeah.
You know,
David.
But then Bryce immediately has the new cover story
Yes.
of like what Scott
and he's
has
convincing
been,
Tom
Yeah.
of here's why we have to do it, and then the cutaway back to Will Patton, and he picks up the gun when it's in the
And you think
foreground.
he's gonna
and you
shoot
think he's
some-
gonna
yeah.
shoot them. Like that whole scene is so awesome.
I like that part too. I think that's my favorite. I think the last 20 minutes of this
I
movie
had a
is my
last
most
20
rewatchable.
minutes of like just the Pentagon spy hunt is and the last and leading up to the reveal is
All
just
right,
my
we
favorite.
all agree. Today's the most rewatchable scene was brought to you by Paramount Plus. Blockbusters, fan favorites, everything. Find something new to watch every week. A mountain of movies awaits on Paramount Plus. Godfather, all of them are on there, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah.
Paramount Classics.
I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's
and
really
all the
good.
Raiders.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
got a lot of good
When
stuff.
are we refathering?
Plans start at $5.99 a month. Start streaming right now. Semi-new category. What's the most 1987 thing about this movie? I'll give you the options.
Oh.
Polaroids as a major plot device.
Mm-hmm.
Credit card record results taking days to come back. No surveillance video whatsoever on the streets, as opposed to Presumed Innocent, where everything is being filmed at all time in the new TV show. Checking the phone records taking hours on end.
Mm-hmm.
The printers or the early pre-OJ DNA stuff. We got this thing with blood.
Yeah.
You can kind of check out the
I think
semen.
the credit cards.
Can I add just Russian agents?
You could.
And also, this is also aged the best for me, but all of Kevin Costner's outfits.
Yeah.
But I would probably say the credit cards because it's like I remember they would do the what's the magnet that they would run over it, you know?
Did you think about dressing in the whites for the podcast or no?
You'd look good. Should try it.
New category before we get to what's aged the best. The Sean Young Award for Best Gratuitous Quickie Nude Scene goes to Sean Young for just taking off her.
I wish it went to
mink.
Hackman. Yeah.
And I'm not positive it was scripted because Costner kind of seems stunned by it and unclear of even how to interact.
I mean, she's told that story. There's that great bit of research where she's like, I am very comfortable taking my clothes off on film, but Kevin Costner was not comfortable with me taking my clothes off on film.
Seems like she uses it against him in that and really unnerves him.
What's aged the best? Movies that start with an intense scene and then give you the 6 months earlier graphic. I'm in. We don't have enough of those.
I feel like it's overused now.
You really?
Yeah, I do.
What's an example?
TV has killed it.
TV and a lot of
I was
TV
thinking about movies.
Yeah,
not
movies
TV.
don't do it as much, but TV shows now always are like,
White Lotus.
we're in the present day.
Oh.
White Lotus always does that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's such a convention that's relied on. This one is good though because I think because of what I was saying before, where you almost forget that moment happens when you're watching the movie. You forget that the interrogation is going down until we finally get to this coda.
What do you have for what's aged the best?
The twist in the twist that it was the landlord is his is the guy who's running him. Like when the door opens and the guy who has the unfinished painting of the New England farm winds up being like the spy master. Awesome callback. I love the slow developing picture as just like the countdown clock for the whole movie.
Yep.
I thought that was really cool. And I think Costner and Young's chemistry is like off the charts.
Do you think the Sixers should do that with Embiid next season? Just
that?
like a slow counting photograph that's becoming
That's
clear
just an MRI
of a center that's actually in shape?
An MRI
Yeah.
of his decaying knee. God damn it. It's like fifth straight podcast where we're like
I'm
having a really good time and
I'm
chatting.
51 away from DiMaggio.
I'm really more concerned about Paul George's late 30s for you.
We can keep moving.
Yeah, let's keep moving. What do you have for what's aged the best? Anything?
Yeah, the idea of the executive branch and Congress being in a dick measuring contest and fucking up everybody's lives.
Yeah.
I feel like that is holding
So
strong.
you're saying that's still happening?
Yeah, that is holding strong in our culture.
Fred Dalton Thompson ever playing anybody attached to the military industrial complex. This Hunt for Red October or whatever.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt is an uncredited party guest.
Mm-hmm.
That's a freeze frame that.
Yeah. I wrote down great evil 80s Washington, D.C. score with the synthesizers and the dun, 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 dun.
Maurice Jarre.
I'm just going to give you Amon's 3 most famous relationships.
Bowie?
One important one, yeah.
She dated Warren Beatty in 1977 during the disco era, and you can just Google pictures of them coming in or out of discos, both at their fucking peaks.
Yeah, he's a goat. Mourns the goat.
She dated and married Spencer Haywood and was married to him during the whole 1980s
I didn't
LA
know that.
Lakers. I want to hire a mafia person and kill Paul Westhead because I'm so coked out. I don't know where I am.
He was married to Iman at that
Married
point.
to Iman.
Huh.
They were doing it up. And then ends up marrying David Bowie eventually, who she calls the love of her life.
They were together for decades.
Handsome couple. More would say the best. Paying extra to rent a boat you're not allowed to rent.
I was gonna have.
I know CR is like, oh, how about if I give you 500?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I love a Chesapeake weekend fuck fest.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of those anymore,
Mhm.
but it's great.
Let's bring it back along with Gumar's.
Yeah, should take the Gumar to Newport Beach.
And just like cash out to some guy at the boat rental place.
Yeah.
I did have one more, which is Costner working with guys and then being like, I'm not going to forget about that guy, and then putting that guy in future movies because that guy who rents him the boat is in The Crew and Tin Cup.
Yep.
He works with Will Patton like 100
and
times.
Will Patton is in all of his westerns.
Reynolds, he goes back to, a bunch of them. So Jason Bernard is in this as he's
Major Donovan,
the guy that keeps breaking in the end.
Yes, love him. He's the judge in what movie is he the judge in?
He's one of those guys, but like a graduation or a level above that.
He's the judge in Liar Liar.
Well, my favorite show ever, The White Shadow. He is Ken Reeves he's the principal and the pilot, and then gets replaced by his brother for the series.
Who's his brother?
Ed Bernard.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What happened?
I guess Jason didn't realize the show was going to get picked up.
Booked another deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't happen.
He's in War Games. He's in a bunch of stuff.
What's age the best? You have to have more moral courage. It's like that. Good written stuff.
I love whenever Scott is like, I need you to see things clearly and calm down.
So
David,
we're all very tired.
Scott and Tom went to college together.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's how they're
Or the
buddies.
college.
Yeah.
Okay.
College buddies. The old college buddies subplot.
Yeah. I have some ideas about that.
Yeah. Oh. Sean Young's quote on nude scenes in this movie. I find I'm always helping the guys. I ended up helping Kevin Costner out. Kevin helped me by wanting me so much for the role. So if he gets a little nervous during a love scene, that's okay. I'll help him. And then last but not least,
generous.
It's a great scene partner right
she's
there.
generous actor.
Yeah.
I have this as a what's age the best and the worst. The two henchmen that chase him a couple times. Henchman number one, we might have to cut this out as a social video. He's running. He's like Steven Seagal. He's just running. It's like he's never run before. He's like watching you take your kid to the playground when they're 3 and they're like, it's a playground. Ah! That's what he's like sprinting after Costner. In 2 major action scenes. How do you not fucking have a real sprinter?
I think also the problem is that they're introduced as essentially Delta Force assassins, but
And
they
they're 2
look like
idiots.
guys who are like at a barbecue before
It's like the other 2 guys they hired called in sick or they had to fire them.
But it's like Marshall Bell, who's like in Total Recall and
That's what I
stuff.
was
Like
gonna
he's
say.
like a great
Marshall
character
Bell's-
actor,
yeah.
but he doesn't look like he overthrew a
No.
Latin American government.
No.
Great Shot Goder Award, most cinematic shot. Would you go opening scene?
I have Costner
credits?
running down the checkerboard floor hallway of the Pentagon being chased. Like it's a really cool shot. But John Alcott, man.
The rack focus is pretty cool when it goes from Hackman to Costner when he's waiting outside at night.
yeah.
That's awesome.
I like a lot of the party photography too, where it's like cutting between. We see her, we see Bryce, we see Tom, and then they're like triangulating. And then when they leave together, there's a cutaway to Hackman, and he's like looking, and he can't find her, and you're like panic has set
You're
in.
right. It's good. Den of Thieves, Benihana Award, scene 2 and location, the opening, DC. I also like the Chesapeake Bay
Bay is
Fuck
awesome.
Fest. Kid Cudi Pursuit of Happiness Award, Best Needle Drop. There's an unbelievable Rod Stewart cover at the first party. They played Do You Think I'm Sexy? It's like the cheesiest 80s guy possible.
I think though, if you've got a song that's got the name of the movie and the song that plays in the movie, it's got to be No Way Out by Paul Anka.
Such a bad song. Big Kahuna Burger Award, Best Use of Food and Drink. Spilling the coffee on the pants was pretty good.
Definitely.
Like, actually, I
Or
plot
ordering
device.
the Stoli straight.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good too. Butch's Girlfriend Award, Weak Link of the Film. I have one, but do you have one for this?
Honestly, it's the Assassins for me.
Okay.
Because like Scott Pritchard would have fucking hitters.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't be like, I found these 2 guys at a Lowe's. Like it's
Yeah, that should have been like Howie Long and Lawrence Taylor. chasing down Costner.
Gastineau.
Gastineau.
Yeah.
Gastineau would have been great.
I don't think anybody in the cast is a weak link.
I have Scott shooting the wheelchair guy as my weak link of the movie. I just don't think he's doing that. You're just going to shoot him in a gym. There's a gunshot. We're in the Pentagon. Like, what's going on there?
Well, I did look this up. There is a gym in the Pentagon.
Nobody's hearing the gunshot. It's
And
the fucking Pentagon.
do you think Dr. Sam Hesselman was a problem? Do you think he was just, this is where I like to get my shots up?
People forget about his triple-double.
Yeah.
He was nice with it.
There weren't cameras in the gymnasium? I don't know. That scene never
I
set
don't think there were
right for me.
cameras
I
anywhere.
mean, Scott is mentally ill.
I get it.
You know, he's also orchestrating a vast conspiracy to protect the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah.
Can I give you a better version of a murder of the wheelchair guy?
Okay.
Just be like, yeah, I'll wheel you out. And then just shove down the stairway.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
do it in a way that makes
No,
it
he
seem like
wants-
an
tale as
accident.
old as time.
He wants
yeah.
to
Fucking
create the
shooting him.
Yuri is in the building thing because once he finds out it's Tom, he's like, now
But
I
then he
need.
keeps the gun on him? Like, I don't know.
You have no idea what men of
I
power
get
can
it.
do, Bill.
have your henchman shoot him. What's age the worst?
Oh, can I just say that the Mallory Rubin Award for Did This Movie Need a Better Sex Scene? It probably would not have been released commercially if it did. It would have been an adult film.
Of the limo scene?
Yeah.
It's a steamy scene, but it's weirdly not that gratuitous. Like, it could have gone farther.
I have it in What's Age the Worst. I think it's a weird sex
You don't like
scene.
the sex scene?
The music's super corny. The no way out. I don't know what's going on with the logistics of it.
Yeah.
Where it's like at one point she's facing the front of the car, but it seems like they're having sex, and it's like that's definitely not what would happen in a limo. And then it's like, was there oral sex here?
I think we should do it. I think
or
we
not.
should diagram
I wish
it.
that I wish we had a graphic.
We
Yeah.
need Dr. Jack to
I
just
asked
like break
Mallory-
this down. We need the
I have some
telestrator.
shocking Mallory Rubin news because I actually invited her to be the fourth. It was going to be the rarely seen 4-person pod for the Rewatchables.
I don't think I've ever done a pod with you and Chris and
just
Mal.
live.
Just live. We did do the live one. That's right.
But I really wanted her take on the limo and the shocking revelation. Never saw the movie.
That's bizarre.
As a
The
As a
world professed
Baltimore-
biggest
yeah.
Costner fan, and it's set in DC, and somehow this is a whole. But she could tell you the fucking ninth cousin of the Dragon Show.
That's crazy too, because there's a scene in this movie when Sean when he introduces the jewelry box that Hackman's
Yeah.
character gives her, and Costner's walking around and he's in jeans, but they're unbuttoned.
yeah.
Yeah,
And he's like showing you like the whole
Yeah, he's
trail.
giving
The
you,
highway
like,
to heaven.
yeah,
not a lot of
Really-
wax.
Yeah.
What is that choice? But also
we have
for
to
Mal,
force her to watch it.
yeah,
Yeah,
she would love that.
Yeah, I think she would have a
We
lot
should
of thoughts.
phrase
on
it
the limo
differently,
scene.
but yeah. Like,
Russian spies probably age the worst, just because we don't have the quote unquote Russian spy
Careful.
scene. in
Yes,
the
we
same
do.
way.
Careful,
What are you
right?
No,
talking
but not
about?
in the way we had them in 80s movies where it's like, oh, he might be the spy is in the building. Now it's just like everybody's a spy and there's so many different ways to be a spy.
you need to
here's
be
your
on a
chance.
different version of Twitter than I am
Yeah.
because like they're putting up numbers.
I'm saying there's more of them and more ways to spy.
Oh, okay.
Back then, it's like we have to put this person in America and they have to pretend they're American for 20 years and they indoctrinate them. Now it's like they just fucking hack
Yeah.
our phones.
This is related to my picking nits too.
All right, we'll save it.
Would you guys be bummed out if I was a Russian spy?
Bummed out?
Yeah, like if it turned out like
See, I would think
What was
it
the
would
mission?
clear up a lot of questions I've had. I'd be like, I fucking knew it. I knew something was off.
I told him to buy an Atwater Village and he didn't.
I told him that Hail Mary pizza is great. How did he not do that?
I agree. What a great shout out for Hail Mary. I fucking love Hail Mary.
Hail Mary's great.
Yeah.
Atwater Village is great.
Yeah.
Sierra's fucking. You could be the king of Atwater Village.
I know where my home is.
Yeah, St. Petersburg.
What's age the worst? What a waste of Joe Don Baker. Why is he in this movie?
It's Fred Dalton Thompson.
Which guy?
You keep saying Joe Don Baker, but it's Fred Dalton Thompson.
No, the other guy.
it's Fred Dalton Thompson.
There's Fred Dalton Thompson and there's another
No,
one.
the other guy's Howard Duff.
Oh, that's who I'm thinking of.
This is great.
I
stuff.
screwed it up. I got Howard Duff and Joe Don Baker.
A common mistake.
Yeah. I
Howard
understand.
Duff.
I completely
You guys
get-
knew what I meant.
Yeah.
We did.
But I thought you kept
I
seeing
wanted
Joe
more from
Don
Howard
Baker.
Duff.
Yeah.
He's in like a
Senator
scene
Duvall.
and a half.
Senator Duvall, right?
Senator Duvall. Yeah. He's in Kramer versus Kramer. He's amazing in Kramer versus
Yeah.
Kramer. He's John Shaughnessy's the lawyer.
Isn't he in Cape Fear too?
Joe Don Baker.
Joe Don
No,
Baker.
but Howard.
No, Howard Duff is not.
You sure?
Howard Duff's a big TV actor from the 50s and 60s.
You sure Howard Duff's not in Cape Fear?
I don't think so.
Craig, can you look this up? I think he's in it. I think he's one of the lawyers.
This new Craig has to like do research while
Howard Duff died in 1990.
Yeah, he's not in it.
Cape Fear was released in 1991.
So
Joe Don Baker is in Cape Fear, though. I think you're just
I'm just getting
This
all
is a
the
great
that guy's
bit.
confused.
This is a great bit. Because I love when you're like, that guy is not a that guy. He's like, this guy's name. You know, he's like, no, that's Red
I'm proving that
Red
guy
Horn is
there,
Red
but
Horn, but
I'm
now you're
screwing
like-
up multiple
yeah.
guys. Sean Young, this is a What's Age the Worst. Sean Young said in interviews that Roger Donaldson made her lift her shirt and show him the goods during an audition. Not great.
Not
80s.
ideal. No.
And then I just wrote down, I still don't know what happened with the whole Tom goes overseas, saves someone on a boat, gets drunk at a Philippines bar, and chases a street kid party, even though I liked watching it. It's basically an amazing 10-minute deleted scene that doesn't need to be in the movie.
Well, it's important. You could have just done the cutaway to the newspaper article of Bryce reading that he was a hero, but he needed a hero to come in to play that part.
I get it.
So it shows
It's a lot of
us-
work.
It is.
It's a lot of work.
It
Because
is.
the other plan B could have just been, hey, this guy's great. You should hire him. Okay.
It's true.
As a kind of addendum to that, I do think that the Phantom subplot is weirdly super important for something that's kind of complicated and only mentioned briefly earlier in the movie. So if I have this right, it's a big submarine that America is building that they think is going to be top of the line, awesome, but it's super expensive. But Hackman knows that if it gets put in the water, it's going to be easily detectable.
Yeah.
And so the Russians want the submarine to get built because they'll find it, they'll see it. So it's Tom's job to somehow get the submarine in the mix somehow. And that's what he's doing, basically, is he's like...
So it's 10 minutes of work for two ultimately not that important
That the
plots.
Russians want Fred Dalton Thompson and
the thing with movies like this is all we need to
It
do
doesn't
is be
really
like, he's a
matter.
Russian spy. It's like, oh, whoa.
Yeah.
That's really all you need.
But
You-
at the
I don't
very
need a
end, when
purpose
he
for him.
sells out Bryce to Marshall, to Fred Dalton Thompson, I think it's because he's trying to take down
To
Bryce.
Howard Duff? To Joe Don Baker?
There's a more of a complexity though to the character because over time he comes to like his time in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like he's kind of slow playing his duties as a spy.
Oh, yeah,
Because
yeah.
he's like, hey, I met this Sean Young lady and she's pretty cool and we're hanging
Yeah.
out and I don't want to.
And speaking of which, another thing that's aged the worst is Kevin Costner listing Russian authors.
Nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned.
All right, the Ruffalo Hannah Rubeneck Partridge overacting award.
Dude,
I don't know how we leave Will Patton out of this
No.
going forward. I almost feel like
It's
he
gotta
has
be
to be
Pritchard.
added.
Great point.
the Scott Pritchard overacting.
Or
Great point.
the other move is just going back right to just calling it the Saul Rubinek Award and dumping everybody else.
It's kind of a what's age the worst, the like hysterical queer guy who's like the villain. Like in the 80s, there were so many versions of that.
Yeah.
And he's really going for it. And yet,
Very
it's a very entertaining character and it makes the movie very fun, you know? So it's
I
one
am
of those.
not going to let you interfere with this investigation. Well,
love
this
Will
all
Patton.
led to his bizarre performance in Remember the Titans, which I
Mhm.
enjoyed, which
Mhm.
we broke down a million podcasts ago. And then,
he's great in Armageddon.
Bizarre. Iconic?
well, bizarre and iconic.
How dare
Where
you.
it's just overnight, he's just like, all right, Denzel, we won a game. I'm in.
Never been mad to see him in a movie.
Yeah.
And then he had the discount version of him on Oz, Terry Kinney,
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
where it was like Will Patton must have passed on the part and Terry Kinney stepped in, but they were always like, I felt like they were on each
Terry
other's
Kinney
corner
and
for a
Will
while.
Patton were always circling the same
Yeah.
It's a
stuff.
tough beat for Terry Kinney.
Terry Kinney is like
One
like
of
one of the
faves.
great
Yeah,
actors.
Steppenwolf
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Speaking of
did.
Edie Falco, yeah.
They're both in good stuff. I felt like there was only room for one of them, though. Was there
It's like
better?
a Highlander situation, but
Yeah.
for bald guys with mustaches in America.
Yeah, there was only so who could be like the number 4 part in a movie, but no higher.
Yeah.
Winner gets Oz.
Was there a better title for this movie? Probably, but I don't know.
Men of Power.
I like that.
That's solid.
Nice.
Can you dig it a word? Most memorable quote. You have no idea what men with power can do. The CR thinks Luke Wilson could have been Harrison Ford Hottest Take Award.
I got one that's lukewarm which is 45 minutes in is a perfect place for one of the main characters to die. You're just used to Susan enough. You're like, Susan's going to be in this the whole movie. Wonder how they're going to, what's the tension? What's it going to be? And then, I'd never seen a trailer for this. So it's surprising the first time you watch it when she gets killed.
I noticed this reading the reviews and watching the Siskel and Ebert too, that every review is like, yeah, and then Gene Hackman kills her, like in the review. And I'm like, what? Why would you?
But
I noticed that too.
Start of the
Isn't that
second
weird?
act, but it's late. It's like that should happen in the
Shouldn't be
first
giving that
20
away.
minutes, and instead it's 45
Yeah,
minutes.
when it's past the first 20 minutes of the movie, I don't think we should have.
It's in the
spoiled
log line. It's like
Yeah.
the death of a mistress. I knew.
But does it indicate that Hackman is responsible?
No. But
Did
I knew
it,
she was
did it
going to
make
die.
the movie better or worse for you that you knew she was going to die?
It just made you wonder. Every scene she was in is like, is this the scene?
Oh,
Oh, interesting.
okay.
Huh.
I would say though
The first time I saw it, I didn't know any of that.
That wasn't a hottest take,
mildly
by the way.
hotter take is if Tom just goes through the front door, she saves Susan's life. When she's like, you can go, he's like, please go through the back door. He's like, next time I leave, it's through the front door.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm leaving, but if he goes out the front door, Bryce scurries away or there's a confrontation, but she doesn't get killed. I feel like you've really set the bar high on the hottest take. What's yours?
What, last week with the...
Like you just want to throw things in the microwave. I'm here, like I'm actually
I
working
thought
on
it was
a
the
stove.
hottest take award.
Okay, go ahead.
I thought we were doing the True Lies created Fortnite. I thought those were hottest takes.
My hottest take was that this is the movie twist of the 80s and 90s. And that those 90s twist movies owe this movie a tremendous debt.
I like it.
And
It's a semi-hot take.
yeah, I mean, because
You're saying better than Sixth Sense.
I think so, yeah. Yeah. Because it's the same thing. Each one of those twist movies, Usual Suspects, is the same thing. It's like this guy who you thought was this guy is actually this guy. And that totally reframes the way that you understand the movie when you revisit it.
Yes.
And it's a central premise that screenwriters sit in rooms and be like, how can I get to this point in my movie? And it's not the first movie to have ever done it, but it's done so brilliantly. And it's a movie that usually ends with like, a man walking alone or something down a beach. And instead it ends and you're like, wait, what? And like, I would have loved to have had a conversation walking out of the movie theater the first time seeing this and like going to dinner afterwards. Cause you would have spent 2 hours like picking over what had just happened.
Yeah.
That's a good call. My hottest take, I miss Russian spies in movies like this. I just miss the old school Russian spy concept of a movie character. And it made me think, as I've gotten older, these movie characters that were just awesome tropes, premises that you lose because time passes and history changes. Like we talked about in the Raiders pod. Nazis were the best movie villains ever, but at some point now it's 2024. You just lose it. It gets dumped to the side.
Even the Indiana Jones movies, I think, struggle to figure out like who the bad guy is without
and
Nazis.
I just miss.
They went back to Nazis.
I miss understandable villains. I don't know if we have that anymore because now it's like the amorphous terrorists, and terrorists can be anybody.
Yeah,
it's really much. This is just simple. It's like we're battling the Russians. They're trying to get information and power and whatever from us.
You guys saw Red Dawn. You don't want that to happen, right?
They might take over someday, but it was all simple and stupid. And now it's just so complicated. Like really anybody can be a villain. And I just kind of miss this era of like, oh, he was a villain. The fucking Yuri. Now he has our sub-secrets.
I mean, what's the last movie franchise that was, or even like just big tentpole movie that was reliant on international intrigue and a villain? I mean, obviously the Bond movies do that, but they never make it about real world
It's like
events.
all those Bourne movies where it's all like they're trying to get a counterintelligence the cloud.
There's some
and
bad
they're hacking
Russians
our
in
cloud.
the Bourne movies, but yeah.
It's all the villains now. They're all up to like these super confusing things. And back in the 80s, it was just like, that guy's a Russian. That's probably bad.
It's really usually more like corporate overlords / like gun runner salesman, like that kind of thing. Now you don't have the countries of
in the
origin
80s
as
it
the
was just
problem.
Russians and cartels.
Yeah.
Now it's like, this casino's trying to buy the Boston Celtics. We have to stop them. They're going to build a stadium and ruin the team.
But there's a reason why that happened, though. It's because Hollywood got addicted to getting money from overseas. These movies didn't used to play overseas.
Yeah, true.
But is somebody
You're right.
is like a casino really trying to buy the Celtics?
I mean, I think it's one of the possibilities. Yeah.
Oh man.
Which casino is it? Circus? Which one?
It's
Treasure Island.
It's the First class Kumar Casino.
Yeah.
Casting what ifs.
The Borgata Celtics.
Michelle Pfeiffer turned down Susan Atwell. I think I agree with the choice. She was killing it in the 80s.
But just like
We're heading toward Fabulous Baker Boys.
Just run it back in your mind. Bill Simmons, how old are you at this time? You're what? In your late teens, early 20s?
And a high school.
Michelle Pfeiffer shows up
as Susan
Atwell. You're in a movie theater.
I just think she's
what is your reaction?
It's just not realistic that she's a Virginia mistress. I don't know. She's almost. I just wouldn't have bought it. For some reason, I bought Sean Young.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the best things about Sean Young is that she was super hot, but you feel like she could have been like bartending at a sports bar.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle Pfeiffer always was levitating above that.
She was Tony Montana's mistress.
But that's like she's a 20-year-old Coco in Scarface, basically. That's like her
preview
job.
of the Scarface pod coming at some point. Yeah.
But that was really, it wouldn't have been realistic 7 years later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you have like a coke whores you throw your life away for?
You want to do the coke whore pyramid?
Oh God.
Allegedly,
it's amazing.
Not sure if this is true, but Mel Gibson and Patrick Swayze turned down Tom Farrell. This felt very flimsy
your
to me.
skepticism about casting rumors is really interesting because like you'll take some just at face value, but then like you'll be like, I'll say them, and you'll be like, we sure about that?
Well, from the 80s,
that seems like bullshit.
This one, Michelle Pfeiffer definitely did. We've confirmation. The other one, it's just felt like they had Costner pretty early.
So what about the Bryce casting stuff?
You think Joe Don Baker was up for the
I
part?
just feel like they're throwing like Paul
Robert
Newman was up
Mitchum.
for David. Paul Newman was never doing this movie.
Mel Gibson, I buy.
He's too young though.
They must have been around the same age.
Gregory
Right?
Peck, too old.
Can we just talk it out
Gregory
about
Peck,
the
that would be
guys
really
who were
cool.
also up for Scott Pritchard?
What was that? I don't know that list.
Gary Oldman, Stephen Lang, Alec Baldwin, Michael Biehn, and James Spader.
Beanhive?
Yeah.
Can I be
Spader's
honest?
too young.
All of them would have been great.
Spader may be 3 years too young, but that's a good one.
Gary Oldman, I know he's a little young, but that
would have
would
been amazing.
Electric.
I actually really liked Will Patton as
He's great.
Me
Scott.
too.
He's
I'm just
great,
saying. It just wanted to talk it out.
He makes the movie incredibly memorable.
Best That Guy award, Fred Thompson ineligible, even though I kept calling him Joe Don Baker. So maybe he should be eligible. But it's the guy who runs the boat rentals and ends up in Tin Cup. Like I still don't know what
Dennis
that guy's
Berkeley.
name is.
Yeah.
Deion Waiters.
Bill the pervert limo driver.
That's for Dion?
Yeah.
I had Mrs. David Bryce, who's all her job is to just seem pleasant next to David Bryce as he's trying to figure out where Sean Young is. And
she's going to come up in a second.
Oh, I love this band. They're great. Tom's drunk buddy in the Philippines. Deion Waiters it up in the bar.
That's a good call.
Fred Thompson, I'll be damned. Well, he will be too if you believe the Old Testament. And then the winner for me, Iman.
I don't know Deion Waiters.
I don't know why she's in the movie.
She's in 3 scenes. Yeah.
Smoking hot. She works at a mall.
Yeah.
She's got a passport from South Africa.
What would happen if you just wandering through the mall and Iman is working in there?
What was going? There's no reason
She
for her to
works
be
at
in
a
the
mall,
movie.
but she can afford like a Washington,
townhouse,
D.C.
yeah.
like
It's just like we just need a striking actress for 2 scenes.
I do think George Zunza in the gym he's going for it. Like his acting style has completely changed. He's like, and then I felt like he's like shaking and quivering.
He's good. Recasting Couch Director City. No thanks. I like everything about what they did here. I don't really have any notes.
Well, you would have gotten Joe Don Baker in the mix, but otherwise.
Joe Don probably was right. He was 1B.
For Howard Duff or for Fred Dalton Thompson?
If Fred was turning it down. Tony Romo or Chris Collinsworth or someone else for the director's commentary.
Now, Mike, this is a great play call from Susan Atwell. She calls him Ancient Mariner to stimulate his intellect, but then she offers fellatio to get his temperature rising. Golly.
He's putting up the window, Jim.
I think he was the Russian Jim. They're calling him Yuri. Half-assed internet research. I was going to do a Bill Raftery as the director's commentary because I don't know if you heard any of the Bill Raftery doing the Olympic basketball, but he
I
kind of never seen an NBA game before.
Romo and Collinsworth for Raftery and DB.
Oh my God.
Raftery's like, Tyrese Halliburton, he can make those threes. I'm like, oh, can he? Bill Raftery? We just watched him for 3 rounds.
You still get onions, you still get
it was fine.
You know.
It just was unclear who they were announcing the games for.
It? I see you, Susan.
And that's
Yuri's come a long way. We're all very proud of Yuri.
Mr. Yuri.
Mr. Yuri, you're doing the work behind the scenes.
Doris Burke calls the movie is also a really good category.
Half-assed research. The limo stuff was apparently somewhat improvised with the window up.
Was the driver improvised? Was the driver like,
very
hey!
possibly? Somehow they had to pay him line.
Is the rule in a stretch limo in the 80s that you get to watch whatever you want until they ask for the barrier to be put up?
I think so.
God damn.
I think that might still be the rule.
Is it?
Yeah.
So is there no rear view mirror if you put the visor up?
I'm working on a Waymo drama. I don't know if you guys have ridden a Waymo yet.
No, I haven't.
My son somehow got
self-driving
on the
one?
waiting list. Yeah, there's no driver.
Yeah, I know.
You're writing a drama about a Waymo
Well,
car?
I just feel like there's no driver, and it just feels like the next crime movie.
Yeah.
Where there's
the
a
crime
murder
is
and a
vehicular
Waymo.
It's called
manslaughter.
Waybro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When a truck hits you.
Something terrible.
Or it's called
happened.
Wayne Grow.
Wayne Grow Waymo. Costner rolled over the hood of a moving car during one of the chase sequences and got yelled at by everybody. And then Susan's house is on the corner of Queen and Union Streets in Alexandria, Virginia. There was not a lot of half-assed internet research about this movie. I was surprised.
Yeah, it's all like, did you know that Gene Hackman and Kevin Costner worked together again?
Apex Mountain. Costner, no. Sean Young, it's probably that Stripes Blade Runner stretch where it felt like she was going to be one of the big actresses, which led to her getting Dune. I don't think it's this.
I think Blade Runner is what she's most remembered for.
Can I ask you, Apex Mountain for movie mistresses? Is it this or Debbie Mazar?
Oh, wow.
Movie mistresses?
Yeah.
Or Gumar?
Well, I just mean...
Gosh. Movie mistresses?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Why didn't you should text me this. I would have done a deep dive.
And there've got to be more memorable mistresses.
Is there a mistresses channel on Tubi?
It's a good idea.
Should there be?
Can't they just give us the car keys for Tubi? Half of their categories. I'm like, what are you doing, Tubi? What is this category?
You want better categories on Tubi?
They have 80 categories and 40 of them are like incoherent.
Yeah.
And then there's like film noir. It's like, oh, I know what that is.
Fortunately, there's a listicle on Vogue.com called 25 Movie Mistresses with Looks We Love, from Holly Golightly to Mrs. Robinson. Check that out. If you're
Mrs. Robinson's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. She is a good one.
No, but it's more, Debbie Mazar is probably the most influential one for a movie.
She is
like
very
for a major
influential,
movie.
yeah.
The Mistress Pyramid, like Soprano has like 4 of them.
I mean, Sharon Stone in
Casino.
Casino?
Who's the woman at the wedding?
Does James Woods count? Does he get to be on the Mistress
the
Pyramid?
Mister.
Who's the woman at the wedding that Sonny Corleone takes down?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that's Andy Garcia's mom.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
And she's like a big character in the book.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's
How
a very
about the
vivid
one
description of their sex scene in the
Is there?
novel. Yeah.
How about in Godfather 2, Tom Hagen's mistress, who we never know who it is, but Corleone says, and you could take your wife and your mistress and live happily ever after.
Tom Hagen had a side piece. He had a little side action.
That was the time.
Can't hold it against them, you know?
Hackman, no. DC film noir.
I think so.
I think so too.
I'm trying to think if there's a 40s movie set in DC. I don't really think so. There must be one that
Is there like
I'm
a
just not-
Hitchcock like that? No?
How about the 80s Russian sub scene?
I mean, no. It's Hunt for October.
George Zinza murders? Would you go this or Basic Instinct?
Can you just say Zunza again?
Zunza?
That was good.
George
You got it.
Zinza?
You got it.
I mean, his name is spelled D-Z-U-N-D-Z-A.
Yeah.
Great name.
Good Deer Hunter performance by him.
Mhm.
I like him.
He's a good actor.
Yeah,
He is
he's a good one.
yeah.
Great Law and Order cop.
Yep.
He was an initial that guy who then graduated Joey Pants
Yeah,
down
he's like an
became
above
George
the fold Law
yeah.
and Order
Yeah,
star.
no question.
Yeah.
He did.
The Omni Shoreham Hotel.
We've really been giving out some hotel love on the rewatchables.
Will Patton, it's Remember the Titans.
That's his Apex Mountain.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
For the Craig generation, they know him as the
We will
DC.
blitz all night.
Isn't he what's his It would be incredible if you could have Will Patton be your coach in NCAA 25.
I would run through a wall. They won't get another yard.
Shane Gillis has the funniest Remember the Titans riff that he does about how it's like the setup of that movie and it's like deep racism in the South and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait, those guys are 4-0. I love this coach. Polaroids, probably not.
Apex Mountain for Polaroids.
Yeah, for Polaroids in a movie. Memento.
Great call.
And then bellboys dressed like pirates being used as witnesses
in federal espionage
yeah, I think
Incredible.
definitely yes.
I love how he's still in uniform when they're taking him around. It's great.
All right, so this next category, usually there's more suspense, but Cruise or Hanks, it's just
Cruise.
a fucking wrap.
It's Cruise.
This is the cruisiest part. There's 2 fucking chase scenes.
Yeah.
I would argue Cruise saw this movie and was like, God damn, man, I just love watching Kevin Costner sprint. From now on, I just want to sprint in more of my movies.
Cruise throwing himself into the windshield of a car. Cruise running through the mall.
Cruise in the
Cruise in a
tighty
strip
whites.
club in Manila, singing
Yeah.
Wild Thing.
Yeah.
Cruise ripping a phone booth out of a wall for no reason.
Cruise in the whites. He wore the whites 5 years later in a movie.
This actually, I think, might have been better with Cruise from an unintentional comedy
Might
standpoint.
have been.
Yeah.
Might have been.
Cruise talking Russian at the
Although
end.
it's one of my favorite Costners, but I think it would have been. Yeah.
Cruise making the Tom Cruise face when he gets the document that Susan Atwell's dead and he does the...
Yeah.
I totally forgot at what's age the worst.
What?
Is this the worst haircuts in a sexy movie of all time?
It was the age.
for who?
1980.
Everybody.
Scott's
You
hair
see it
is
in that.
insane.
No, the women.
Sean Young's haircut is fucking horrible in this movie, where she's got like
How about
kind
the
of a
cocktail
dye
party?
job. and
Every
it's
haircut's
short.
awful.
Yeah.
She has like mom hair, but she's like 24. Kevin Costner's hair is fucking weird. It's like cut awkwardly and not brushed.
Yeah.
Always
Hackman.
wet, yeah.
It's
We didn't know what we were doing with hair in the late 80s.
Very weird.
Vlad, I have some tough pictures. Racehorse, rock band, wrestler, or fantasy team name. Listen, the Horny Hackmans is sitting there
That's
for
good.
anybody.
It's good. Men of Power is also could be the title of the film. Could be the title of a horse.
Pickanits. I mentioned already. I'm not sure Susan breaks her neck and dies instantly from the 8-foot fall into a coffee table. I feel like there's a lot of writhing around. Maybe there should have been a second. He hits her with a photograph or something.
Or Scott comes and finishes the job.
Susan snaps the Polaroid at Tom, and his arms aren't doing this during that scene.
Yeah.
And then in the Polaroid there, I don't know why they didn't catch that. The Yuri framing plan that they
It kind of comes out of
cooked
nowhere.
up on the fly right as his dead Gumar is barely dead at that point. Scott's like, hey, Yuri. And then he's just like fucking Belichick trying to figure out how to beat the 2018
But how
Rams.
awesome must it have been to be like in the Defense Department, and anything that goes wrong in your personal life, you can be like, oh, it's Yuri. Like, we can just blame it on like a Russian mole.
We need a Yuri here at the Ringer. Yeah.
Why didn't Amon just rat out Tom in the room? Because my guess is there's a scene or two missing where Sean Young's character is telling Amon how great
She's loyal to
Tom
him.
is. Tom is fucking awesome.
She's
I love
loyal
this
to her
guy.
friend. Yeah, I agree. My biggest one is why don't the Russians extract Tom? Like, why is
Well, they have the scene where he calls from the payphone and he says, "I can't get out."
Yeah.
But
and
why
that's
don't
who
they
he's
just
calling.
get him out? What does that mean?
Well, I
I
think
don't know.
it's
CR
his
just
fault.
yawned, so I think we have to wrap it up.
No. That's not, I'm sorry. I think that it's his job is not to get close to Susan. His job is to get close to Bryce.
But he's compromised the minute Susan dies.
Right.
The minute Susan dies, his cover is ready. And in fact, not only that, but the assistant to the Secretary of Defense is orchestrating a plan to basically get him exposed.
Also, like FYI, maybe some condoms in '87 so they can't find your fluids on the Gumar. Just Just some bad spying by Yuri.
What a comeback
I'm
for
surprised.
Kumar.
I'm surprised you didn't bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah, that was next on my list.
What's up with Tom eating bugs off the windshield when they're driving the Chesapeake
I
Bay?
always thought that was like a berry.
Either way, it's gross.
Yeah, it's weird.
Is that a Russian thing?
I didn't get it. Here's my biggest nitpick. Would local news really be reporting on a spy hiding in the Pentagon? Like, this is getting out? This is just like, oh, I wonder what's going on in the news. There's a spy in the Pentagon. Like, that's fucking crazy. They would never.
But it
let
is an
that out.
area where a bunch of reporters are just standing around waiting for something to trickle out
happen.
anyway. So I think that's why.
Didn't pass the sniff test with me, CR.
Okay.
Any more nitpicks?
I mean, just
We had everything.
David Bryce's wife just never saying a word and just being like, "See you later, Dave. Take the Chrysler." Yeah.
She loved those cocktail parties, though. Great host. The word in the street was great host.
She did her job. She had a nice life.
I would have liked to seen what his townhouse was like in downtown DC.
Yeah, me too. A little bit domestic life.
Yeah. Sequel, prequel, prestige TV, all black cast, or untouchable. I think we would all agree this would be a really good prestige TV show. And after seeing what's happened with Presumed Innocent, where it's like, well, they can't do that. I know who killed them at the end.
Don't spoil the most recent episode of Presumed Innocent,
I'm not
please.
spoiling anything.
Okay.
I'm just saying the movie happened, and we know what happens if you've seen the movie.
Right.
He and I were
So
kicking
it's like-
around our theories when you walked in
Of what's going to happen in the TV show.
in Presumed Innocent, yeah. But we won't say it. I was gonna say sequel, Yuri, living in America,
Oh,
Soviet Union falls in 91.
Yep.
He has to decide what he's gonna do.
he
next.
becomes Arvidas Sabonis' agent, moves to Portland, and he's like, "Your son's good. I want to personally train with him."
What if it's a prequel and it's Susan : the Gumar years and it's just tracking her era?
If you fucking kill him over a Gumar joke.
I was just thinking the Gumar years would be an amazing Netflix series.
Oh my God. Someone at Netflix literally just jotted that down
The Gumar years,
and
season
ordered
3.
30 episodes.
Or Scotty and Tommy, the
college.
the college
Yeah.
years.
So that,
How
that probably
how
goes
they
to
linked up.
possibly unanswerable questions,
Yeah.
which is
What was happening between them?
Scotty and Tom.
Scott is obviously
We're doing this
in love
now?
with Bryce.
I'm just saying.
Are we sure Bryson's Scott?
Well, Bryce
Nothing.
is obviously very aware of Scott's infatuation with him
Yes.
and uses it.
But he needs him. He leverages that.
Is this movie better with Wayne Jenkins, Danny Trejo, Sam Jackson, J.T. Walsh, Byron Mayo, Harley Mays, Evil Laughing Ramon Raymond, Philip Baker Hall, or Nell?
Or Hudson from Aliens, which I'm
Or
going to keep
Hudson
doing
from
until we
Aliens.
do Aliens.
I forgot to add him.
Oh, man, Susan fell over the railing. What the fuck are we going to do now, man? Game over, Scott.
But what?
That's just great, man.
I'm gonna puck a potato. I'm gonna puck a potato.
Well, I've missed out on all the
dead lady.
Paxton.
Yeah.
There's been so much Paxton going on recently.
Just one Oscar. Who gets it?
Joe Dunn Baker.
Joe Dunn Baker for sure.
He's like, I don't know what I did. Thank you, guys. I think probably screenplay.
Yeah, good
Uh-huh.
job, Bill.
Yeah,
I don't think
I like
anyone
that.
is winning an
I
Oscar
like
for
that.
this movie.
No, it's not really an Oscar movie.
I don't have any unanswerables. We did everything.
I did.
What do you have?
What does Susan and Tom talk about? Is it just sex constantly?
Yeah.
What do you think that they chat about?
That one's running out after about a month and a half.
Bestseller shelf at Walden Books? Like, what are they? What's on their agenda? Talking?
I think it's how much more time do you need before we have sex again?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, what's wrong with that?
Nothing. I'm just saying.
You know, why do we have to answer that question, Chris?
Did
And
you need a
also-
scene where
That's
she's
kind of
like,
a broader, like, what do all married men talk about with their Gumars?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Maybe that's a podcast series. we
Yeah.
should watch.
That
that's
you can
part of-
find on
Married Men and their
Colon
Gumar.
limited series.
What was the
yeah.
Gumar show?
The Gumar years.
The Gumar years. Yeah, that's part of the Gumar years.
Okay.
No, I think they're probably like hanging out and he's like, and she's like, you fall in Cal Ripken Street?
Yeah.
It's getting pretty interesting.
But that's where his Russian part
Played
comes out.
1,200 straight games.
Yeah.
He's like, Cal Ripken.
Yeah.
And then he's like, has to catch
He's
himself.
like, Russian weightlifting team, very good this Olympics.
She's like, do you think the Colts will ever move? He's like, no.
I don't know about you, but Sam Bowie's a really smart pick.
That'd be funny if you AI'd dialogue
Yeah.
for movies like this.
Yeah.
Let's do it right now.
I really like this Purvis Ellison. I hope the Wizards have a chance to pick him.
Were they on the bullets then? Yeah.
Best double feature choice.
With Revenge.
Oh. I
That's a
had
good
this
one.
with American Flyers first, followed by No Way Out. So you get the full before and after Costner as a star.
Well, The Big Clock would be a good one, even though it's not as good or as twisty as this movie. I also thought Presumed Innocent, the movie, is a very good example of this kind of movie that we don't get, which is like very interesting mystery movie that is very sexy.
With some big characters.
With big actors and big stars, about a world of power. And that stuff was like really humming from like 85 through 2000.
You could say No Way Out is the remake would just be Democrats trying to get Biden out. Taping this on a Thursday or Wednesday? No?
What's age the worst? That joke.
And there's no way out unless Nancy Pelosi really steps it up.
Can't argue.
The Indian Red Zawatney Award would happen the next day. Yuri eventually becomes the coach of the 1992 Lithuanian team. Yuri runs the Lithuanian Republic.
What's it with Lithuania?
I don't know. Just because after this, the Soviet Union's splitting in 89.
But his whole
We're
point
get
is he's getting in his whip and he's in America, right?
All right, so Yuri's now waiting for Sabonis.
What if Yuri moves to Iowa and opens a cornfield where then he winds up putting a baseball
Ray
field?
Kinsella is actually Russian.
Yeah.
Here's my actual answer.
No, this is bizarre.
David Bryce murdering Susan Atwell becomes one of the great murder trials of the 80s. Maybe it starts C-SPAN. Like, day 3 of the Bryce trial.
But Scott is going to be held responsible, right?
No, because Costner gives the note at the end.
Right.
To implicate
gift.
Bryce.
Right.
I think at least brings his political career down, if not making him.
This is right around Iran-Contra time?
That's the question is, does Tom stay or leave? Does he go back to Russia or does he stay in the States?
I think he stays in the States. I think he's had a taste,
Would you
Sweet
rather have
capitalism.
No Way Out 2 or Waterworld?
I would rather have had No Way Out too.
Yeah.
I wish that there were more movies like
this. My take on this is that Waterworld is now underrated. That like Waterworld is actually a pretty cool action movie.
I test drove that take and watched 20 minutes of Waterworld, and I was like, Sean's fucking nuts.
But there's like, once you get past the setup and you start getting into the action scenes, it's like pretty crazy that they pulled that movie off.
Yeah, fair.
To me, if you were like, The Postman is actually good, like that movie's not good. Like he's made plenty of movies that like are long and boring.
Waterworld's not that bad though.
It's not. Okay. No Way Out 2 would have been fun.
What's next year? Bobby Bonilla's contract actually wasn't that bad. Is that next week?
Was it?
Was
it that bad?
Was it that bad? What piece of memorabilia would you want from this movie? This would be weird to have memorabilia from this movie, but probably the
red
gift.
car.
No, the gift.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the jewel box. Yeah. From Egypt.
Is that Susan's car?
That car is dope.
Yeah.
We've made cars ineligible for this category.
I know. I
You
was just
picked the
curious.
car,
Like, did
Bea.
Bryce get her that, or
It's a good question. What does she do?
I think
She's a professional
she
groomer?
lies around in her bed all day.
Yeah.
No offense.
Well, she says we both work for Bryce because
Yeah.
he's my boss. And
I think she probably helps out at the mall, helps out Oman sometimes.
Okay.
A South African model
Okay.
friend who's just kind of working on
Picks up
floor
a
2 of the
shift?
Georgetown
Okay.
Mall.
Yeah.
Cool. Coach Finstock Award, best life lesson.
And don't have a Gumar.
Don't have a Gumar and don't trust anyone who might seem like a Russian.
That's the thing. That's the genius of the movie. Has Kevin Costner ever in his life seemed like a Russian? That's why
No.
the movie's great.
Yeah.
He's perfect. He's the all-American man.
It's so great when he's like, "Oh, it's been a while since I've like heard Russian."
Who won the movie?
Costner.
Agree.
You don't want to do a Sean Young test drive a Sean Young
She's
take?
just not in enough of it. I think she's incredible and she makes
It's Costner. Costner's great in this
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Costner or Cruise is a really fun.
You want to spice up that category going forward?
I don't know if Cruise. No, just for this movie. I don't know if Cruise is old enough in '87. He's still like in that Pete
Yeah.
Mitchell kind of
That's-
cocktail.
And I don't think Costner is as like
It's a movie he needed to make in like
certain as like
1995.
about who he is and how he's perceived. Where like he really fucks with his image in this movie.
He does.
Yeah.
Who is the best possible version of Yuri in this movie? Is it like could Brad Pitt in the late 90s, early 2000s have been even better in this?
I think Brad Pitt should do a movie like that where it turns out he's something completely different. I think that's a good call. I mean,
Donaldson makes a version of this again called The Recruit. It's Pacino and Colin Farrell.
I don't mind The Recruit.
Yeah. It's, well, I don't want to give away The Recruit, but some similar themes.
you're concerned about spoiling a 20-year-old movie.
Now it's
no one
time.
liked.
Producer Craig,
Who watched this movie?
a movie that came out 37 years ago. He was like -7. You knew nothing about it. We told you not to Google anything. What'd you think?
I think the twist wins the movie if that's allowed. If that's not allowed, my boy Will Patton wins the movie. Not even close. Will Patton is out of his mind. You guys undersold the whole thing. I think Will Patton could have been the Joker. Like, I think he
That's
would have
good.
been a
That's a
great
good
Joker.
Yeah, that's a good one. Will Patton is the Joker.
Oh, he would have been an incredible Joker.
He never really went this big again.
Yeah, he's more like a kind of humble character actor after this, which is funny.
Yeah, so I watched this movie with my brother. He was in town for work, and I was like, hey, I know we only have one night to see each other. Would you be interested in watching No Way Out? He had never heard of the movie. Neither had I. We watched it. The twist blew us away so much. Like, we both stood up when the twist happened, rewatched the last 15 minutes of the movie again.
So when he makes the payphone call and he's like, I can't.
Didn't pick up on it.
Okay.
We were just like, it just goes over your head.
Yeah.
We didn't, like the landlord guy, we were like, that's weird. I don't know what his landlord's deal is. And again, you piece it all together afterwards. Truly, I've actually had The Sixth Sense spoiled for me. So this might be maybe usual suspects.
Did you have Primal Fear spoil for you?
No.
Okay.
But this one hit way harder. I think the Costner thing just completely blindsides you. All that to say, I thought the movie was awesome. You guys are way off with Sean Young. She doesn't work at all.
Wow.
Interesting.
Really?
Maybe
Huge
it's a
miss.
generational thing.
Zero appeal. I thought she was like a cartoon. Her like weird, I thought there's a scene in the lake house and she like pulls up her dress and she's like, bah! And I was like, what is this woman doing? She's like, you want to look down my dress? Grow 4 inches. And I was just like, we need to kill her immediately. Not wearing a condom with that woman is insane.
This is up there with Philip Seymour Hoffman is overrated.
She's the most bizarre energy in this movie.
I think her attractiveness really does belong to that time.
It's an era.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that she does not make sense in any of the same
I don't know
ways
if Craig
now.
can produce Throw Your Life Away. Like, I don't know if he can.
I think like
Yeah, that is
I
true.
think borderline like the first 30 minutes of this movie are like actively bad because of her. And then you know the drawing of the
Holy
meme of
mackerel.
the horse that's like a very detailed drawing and then it gets crude at the end.
Uh-huh.
This is like the opposite to me. Like every minute that goes by, like this movie gets better. But in the beginning, I was like, what is happening?
So you're wrong about that. But we haven't discussed the Phil Hoffman take.
Yeah.
You and I, off mic or on.
Yeah.
And I need you to apologize for your sins. Like you need to go to church.
I stand by it.
That is
Maybe some of the
sinful.
movies I threw in aren't the correct call, but for the majority of the movies I mentioned, he's kind of the same guy.
I told Bill, I was like, I've never had more people tweet at me about a podcast I was not on in my life when that take went out. It's truly amazing.
Listen, we encourage all opinions here at The Ringer.
That's right. It's a big
And
tent.
if we don't agree with them.
Yeah, all Gumars welcome. Yeah.
Just felt like, and again, I thought I would give this movie like a 2 thumbs up, but I still feel like the bar for movies was just lower back in the day.
That is true. Because some of the movies that succeeded this year are movies that would just be like a Wednesday at Netflix now, like Stakeout, which I love.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
But
You mean for like mainstream in the theaters?
I think
like,
they look a
hits,
lot
yeah.
better, and I think they have much like better production values, though.
yeah, well, it's like basketball. You watch some of the people from the 80s and you're like, oh my God. Yeah, Larry Bird's lighting it up over Kent Benson.
Yeah,
But now,
but Benson had fundamentals.
True. All right, Craig.
Great
Craig
movie.
produced this podcast. Thank you. Chris and Sean, I will see you next week. We're doing another one next week. Double header.
Yeah.
Let's play 2.